for America. Back to security, back to national security, back to the military, back to the intel community, back to funding programs, back to figuring out how to actually combat the China virus and things like that. Things that matter. Taking out politics from the heads of these institutions. That is the biggest win we could have.
I feel like if we have really good people like Devin Nunes working behind him as CEO, that means Kash Patel probably has some really cool secrets behind the scenes he's working on, and he's going to be involved with all this stuff too. And dude, I love your background, but I also love, it's interesting with Donald Trump coming from New York. I'm from New York originally. We have such a great melting pot of people who aren't in their spot because the color of their skin, the race, the religion. It's because they are great at their jobs, and he picked the best, but it also shows how great America really is.
I couldn't agree more. That's a great summary. That should be like the headline for like the next month on your show, because that's what he did. President Trump, Devin Nunes, all these guys, they didn't look at you and be like, so we need a minority, we need a female, we need a person with this sexual orientation, we need someone who comes from this community, who lives there. Who's the best person for the job? Interview, get in front of them, and make your case. And they always pick the best person for the job. Donald Trump could care less what your background was. It's cool that he and I happen to be from Queens. That was a nice, fun coincidence. But I don't think he knew that till like 2 years after I knew him. And things like that. And he was like, "Oh, Kash, you're an Indian American, a brown guy. We got to have you in the, in the shop here." That's how other people. That's how some in the left dictate who should be employed where. And that can't happen in government service, because it's service. It's a privilege. No one's forcing you to do it. And if you can't cut it, or you don't have the background to handle that apparatus, then you shouldn't be there, because you're serving the American people who aren't themselves able to serve. And you have to have 100% from them. And I think we're going in the opposite direction, unfortunately, with this administration. But highlighting it here is critically important.
You sound like you have a presidential run in you someday with that voice. I like that.
I'm never running for anything ever. Ever. It's not happening.
Before I let you go today, John Durham, man, John Durham is in the regular world, the conspiracy world, the media. Like it's like he is like the stealth guy that everyone wants to hear from. I hear about indictments all over the place, sealed indictments, etc. Do we have a hope of hearing from him hopefully this year and dropping some hammers?
Yes, 100%. And not that I have an inside track on any of it, but as a former federal prosecutor, as a national security guy, an intel guy, I see what John Durham's putting out. And I've talked about this extensively on my show, Cash's Corner, which is over on Epoch Times, but we just flipped it to a free podcast, so you guys can just bore yourselves with it. But we do deep dives into every indictment that John Durham has issued. Sussman, Danchenko, Kleinsmith. What you have to do is summarize what they've done. John Durham. He's indicted the FBI for intentionally lying to a federal court. He's indicted the Clinton campaign and their lawyers for intentionally lying to the FBI and shoveling false information to them. He's indicted the number one source in the Steele dossier for what? Providing bogus information and lying about it. That's the trifecta. He's taking out the source, the government institution, and the political party behind the largest criminal enterprise in American history. And what does John Durham do? Instead of issue 2 to 3, 4, 5-page indictments, which is the norm for some of these cases that he's brought, 40 and 50 pages. Why is he doing that? Because John Durham doesn't leak, and the only lawful way for him to speak to the public is through a public indictment. Look at the people he's named in these things that are part of this ongoing investigation. Jake Sullivan, the current national security advisor, Glenn Simpson, Fusion GPS, half the people at the State Department, people like Charles Dolan, who no one ever knew about. I ran Russiagate. I didn't know about that guy till John Durham found him, which leads me to believe that John Durham is running a righteous investigation. But I remind people, man, there was cases I worked 2, 3, 4 years before we brought an indictment on. This is complex stuff, and I wish it moved faster. And in the times of the China virus, we're only slowed down because grand juries are limited and whatnot. But I think he's moving methodically. I don't want to see a John Durham report for like 2 years. I want to see more indictments. And I think in the spring, summer of this year, you're going to see 2, 3, 4 indictments that are going to be pretty shocking. And that's what America wants, is accountability for those who think they have the right to live by a different set of rules. Those being Clapper and Comey and McCabe and Strzok and Lisa Page and Glenn Simpson and James Baker at the FBI and Bruce Orr at the DOJ and all these other people who used to serve at the highest levels of government corrupted it for us. So I'd say stay tuned, and I'll come back on your show anytime and talk about John Durham. Check out Cash's Corner. The podcast just went live. I think I've done 6 shows on John Durham, but I it's very personal to me, and so I like talking about it.
Man, I think America would celebrate in unison if we actually could take down the Clinton operation and the Obama operation and what they've done. I mean, is at this point, I think every American at least doesn't like them and at least knows that they've done something criminal.
Yeah, look, and here's the reality. Look, is Hillary Clinton ever going to get indicted? No. Is James Comey going to get indicted? Probably not. But if you get an Andy McCabe, the deputy director, who's worked at the behest of James Comey, and then you get a report from John Durham, which we will get at the end of the day, which excoriates the Clinton campaign and their leadership and their work, and the James Comeys and the Brennans of the world, I think that's a fair amount of accountability. We have to live in reality. We can't have these fake conversations where people are like, when is Obama getting indicted? It's not happening, okay? That's ludicrous. Like, let's have a real conversation, and let's reset the goalposts to reality. And I think that's what we've been trying to work on. And I'm glad I'm able to come on your show and talk about it for a little bit. But hope to be back and talk about all things, and encourage your audience to check out fightwithcash.com with a K and support us where you can.
Absolutely. We're showing it one last time, and everybody just go over there, get hooked up with Kash. If you have a situation where you're involved with it, obviously do that as well. It would be really, really great. Help everybody out. Kash, again, I appreciate being on the show. Thank you so much for your patriotism, your service, and everything you're doing.
Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
So there is Kash. Man, good information. Like, big time drops, letting you know what is coming. Just a great dude. And I appreciate, we're going to leave it at that because his word is big. And obviously he is in the inside. They call him a Trump guy, meaning he's right next to the president, right next to Chris Miller, DOD, knows what's happening, knows what's going on behind the scenes. Plus, I feel like he knows a little bit more, and that's good. He's going to do what is needed to help save and restore the republic. So everybody, I appreciate it. Appreciate having Kash on. This is Dr. Dean, Brave TV. Love, help, serve your fellow neighbor, your community member, your fellow American, and the world. Everybody have an amazing day. We will see you later. Take care.